Yeah.
Because we're not used to do this. So we are not looking on that way, you know.
It's hard, isn't it?
We have to find out how to do it.
Maybe you can check once in a while if there's any people chatting over.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it should appear here.
Yeah.
But you can
Down
see.
below
Yeah, it
the
says
right.
chat.
Yeah.
If there's any questions, I don't know if anybody's is coming on. So.
Do you want to squeeze in there yet?
No, don't shake the table too much because of this camera. You should not move the table. Yeah. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Third Testament Foundation live stream. My name is Bob Zahner, and today we have a guest in the studio. His name is Raven, and I've invited him to ask some questions about the world picture of Martinez, because it's actually his first time learning about the work of Martinez. So it's good for us that have known the work for about, I myself personally have known it for about 30 years. And it's good to have a beginner's approach to teaching. And in that way, I become a student. I have to listen to what the audience has to say. In this case, what Raven has questions. And also in the studio with me is Jan Langekær from the Third Testament Foundation, and he will be giving a talk and dialogue in London on the 18th of June at the Poetry Cafe. And we have more information about that on our website, www.thethirdtestament.info. So what I will be doing today is I will present how the different basic energies culminate in the different organ structures or organ systems of our physical body. And after that, we'll open for questions here in the studio, and also we can chat in with questions. If you have any questions, you can. You're always welcome to chat in with questions. And just generally, before I go through the different basic energies and how they culminate in the physical body, also known as the microcosm, that's the term Martinus uses. It's a microcosm. I will just state for the record that Martinez had a golden baptism of fire in 1921 when he was about 30 years old. And that enabled him to see the universal laws and principles that governs everything. He was able to see the spiritual worlds and see principles that we cannot see. He was able to have a perspective that we do not have. He calls this cosmic consciousness. It basically means that his intuition was complete. He had an ability to use his intuition to see things of a spiritual nature. And by using the terminology of Martinus, he basically says that we have 6 bodies. One of these bodies is an intuition body. Most of the people on the planet right now, their intuition body is in embryonic state. But we will all give birth to this intuition body. And in the last week's presentation or live stream, we went through the details of that. So you can check up on that one if you're interested. I'm not going to go into this right now. So basically, Martinez was able to use his intuition body to see all these answers to the mystery of life. And he wrote what he saw down. He basically made drawings, symbolic drawings, for about 7 years, and he started to explain these symbolic drawings with text. And after 60 years, he had about 9,000 pages of text, and he gave a lot of lectures and stuff too. So he was a very productive individual. We have to remember that Martinez was able to see these things that means that to him it was self-experienced. But to us, who do not have this intuition body born yet, our intuition body is still an embryo. So we cannot see this. That is in the books that Martinez have written. But we have to remember that to us it's a theory. It's a theoretical perspective to us that we can choose to internalize it as a part of our belief system, or we can reject it. So that is totally up to you. The choice is yours. So we're not a religion. We're not out to tell you that this is the only way that it is, and if you don't believe in that, dude. So anyway, Martinez said there's a lot of ideologies out there, and you, in order for you to find the best suited ideology to you, you need to know for yourself, does this ideology give me inspiration at this point in my life? Do I need it? Do I feel inspired? Does it spark my creativity? Does it do something to me that there's a resonance with this ideology? If the answer is yes, well then the ideology that it is right for you. That doesn't mean that this ideology is right for you at this point in time. And that's important. And Martinez states that in his the preamble or the preface to the Book of Life, that it's important to find the exact reading materials or ideologies and so forth that inspire you at this point in time. So with that in mind, we will go through the 6 basic energies and how they culminate in the organ systems of the physical body. This again is the main symbol. It's called the eternal world picture, the living being 2, and the eternal Godhead and the eternal sons of God. Again, we have God at the center, or X1, nameless variable. We have all the sons of God out here, the spheres, the white spheres. And in the interplay between the emanations or radiations of God and the sons of God, there's something created, which is called X3 in Martinez terminology. And last time we went through the details of here. There's a planet, it's planet Earth, and it's going towards a star. This is an evolutionary spiral, and we're going this way in the spiral, and this star represents cosmic consciousness. So today we will go into detail about how, if we take our X-ray of this one, imagine if we could, we would end up with this one. It's a little more detailed picture of the previous one. We see again how the same 6 basic energies, the 6 colors, repeat themselves in a combination. And again, we have the Godhead in the center, or symbolizing the macro being that is not a micro being inside another macro being. So that is this one, X1 again, a nameless variable. And here we have 6 beings represented. He only put 6 there. It could be an infinite amount of beings, but for sake of simplicity, he only had put 6, 1 in each of the kingdoms. There are, of course, beings here, 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 all the way around here. All these beings have eternal I, and they have eternal creative capacity, which is symbolized by these violet rings. And they have a manifestation body here with the 6 bodies. One for each of the colors. There's a blue, there's a green, there's a yellow. Let me make it a little bigger here. There's a blue, there's a green, there's a yellow, there's an orange, red, and indigo in this being here. This being represents a being in the real human kingdom, where yellow culminates, where the energy of feeling culminates. What we would use this symbol for today is we will conceptualize it or understand this symbol as ourselves. This is our I with 6 organ systems. So each of the organ systems have a micro-individual incarnated in the physical body. So again, just for sake of repetition, we have the red is instinct energy, orange is killing principle, that is the expansive principle, the principle of heat in the universe, explosion energy. Here we have the yellow is feeling energy, also the cool of the universe, the contracting energy of the universe. And we have the green is intelligence energy, that is the ability to use logic and so forth. And then the blue is the intuition energy, and that is like what we use to see ready-made answers that already exist. It's like ideas. We can use our intuition body to see ideas that are ready-made, but we need intelligence energy to kind of make the plans and like an inventor would make plans about this great idea he has, which comes from intuition, but then in order to apply this idea to make it happen, he needs to use intelligence energy, or she. And then there's memory energy here. Right now, in this case, the memory energy is latent. It's in embryonic state inside here. So if we look at this as our physical body, this is our I, and we have 6 organ systems. Each of the organ systems has an I, an eternal I, just like we are eternal, and they have different energies culminating depending on where they are in the body, what kind of function they have. Where the red instinct energy culminates, that is where we have our muscles, or muscle structure. We see there are a lot of different energies that are here, but the instinct energy is culminating in the muscles, in all our muscular systems. We have orange culminating, that is the energy of gravity culminating in the digestive systems, like the stomach and intestines and all that kind of stuff, the digestive systems. And then we have the feeling energy culminating, that is the contractive energy culminating, the coolness culminating in the heart and the lung systems. And Martinez tells us that the interplay between the yellow and the orange is what gives us our life force. So that interplay between heat and cold, interplay between expansion and contraction, the interplay between the energy of gravity symbolized by the orange color and the energy of feeling symbolized by the yellow color is what gives us our life force, according to Martinez. And we can believe that or not, but I don't know. It's worked out for me. I have tested his claims in a lot of different contexts, and so far I have found a few things that I still don't believe is true, but most of what he's writing, I actually have verified myself in my own life. So, and I encourage you to be a researcher and be skeptical and make your own hypotheses and test them in your own life. Instead of just swallowing this raw and just believing in this. It's not a belief system. We have here a being, a micro-individual culminating with the green, which is intelligence energy. That is the brain and the nervous system of our physical body. And I did a little a little hobby research on the neurological science, and actually it's very interesting. We have 5 discrete, different nervous systems, like the autonomic nervous system consisting of the sympathetic and parasympathetic, which is like sympathetic is the fight, flight, freeze response. Is there danger? Is it okay to be here? If not, I need to have all my muscles activated and be able to run fast. That's the sympathetic. The parasympathetic is more like rest and digest, the feed and breed response, where there's no danger. We can just, eat and multiply. And then that's the 2 aspects of the autonomic system. Then there's the vagus nerve, actually, a cranial nerve 10, which comes out from the brainstem back through the cranium and down through all the organs and relaxes all the organs. And it's stimulated by slow movements like yoga-like movements and breathing exercises, and it basically relaxes all the organs. And it makes the bridge between the autonomic nervous system and the central nervous system. The central nervous system representing the abstract thinking, the nervous system we use to, if we need to read a book or do some planning, we need to use our central nervous system. And those are the 5 primary nervous systems. There's also the enteric nervous system as part of the digestive system. So basically, this is, according to Martinez, where the intelligence energy culminates. That is in the nervous system and the brain. We have intuition culminating here in the sexual organs and the glandular system. And basically, Martinez defines an orgasm as the highest fire. He calls it as the highest fire, a glimpse of the highest fire. The highest fire is, to Martinez, the oneness with God. An orgasm to Martinez is a glimpse of the highest fire. It's just that highest fire very briefly experienced. So, but that's like a flash of intuition energy. It's interesting because of intuition energy is culminating in the sexual organs and the glandular system here, according to Martinez. There are other energies present too, but this is the one culminating in those systems. We have the energy of memory culminating in the bone structure, the skeletal system, all the mineral matter of the physical body, like the skin, and the hair, the nails, teeth, and so forth. So, to a certain extent, a part of the cartilage system where the bones turn into muscles, and here we have the bones turning into the muscle here. So we have this spiral cycle complete within our physical body or organism of manifestation that we use. It's interesting to note that Martinez says that our physical body is a false sense of center in the perspective. And if we use what we have just gone through here, we can see that there are different organ systems within our physical body. There are living beings inside of us that are having a life experience. It means that we are not our physical body. We have a physical body. We are using it as a tool, like a driver would use his or her car to drive and get somewhere. So in the same way, we use our physical body as a tool to experience something. This learning experience that we're having is something we're having. What is having this learning experience? That is our eternal I. That is this one right here. The eternal I that we are have these different organ structures, the organ systems of our physical body, and through these organ systems there is the interplay or interaction, and there's a birth of an experience. that experience happens in the consciousness or the X2 of the I. So the experience doesn't happen out here in X3. The actual experience happens in X2, which is also eternal. So remember that X1 and X2 is eternal, and the X3 is the temporal. The X3 is that which has a beginning and an end. So X3 remembers all the 6 colors, the X2 is the purple, and the X1 is the white. So it's called the eternal world plan. So that's one way of using this symbol to give a different perspective to what is going on with our physical body and what is all these energies and how do they interplay and correspond to the different organ system. And to me it's very interesting that actually we are a universe to our microbeings. And we have a responsibility to this universe. We have a responsibility for these microbeings to thrive and have good food and clean air and plenty of fluids and water and exercise and all that stuff. So I will take a little some questions from Jan Langekær, from Raven here in the studio audience, and see where they want to go with this, or what kind of questions they have, or if they don't believe in this stuff and they think it's totally wrong and stuff. I'm just no punches pulled here, or just give me all your questions if you have any. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking about something else. So, do you have any questions?
For me, it's just coming into this, right into this part of your educational program. There's too much I don't understand to be understanding this. So I would need to go right to the very beginning of the drawing board to understand what it is you're saying here and the imagery of how it relates to your whole concept.
Okay.
So I don't get it.
Yeah, that we went through that last week's. We did all the introductory stuff. So basically, Raving is saying that he doesn't have the basic terminology or symbolism of the colors in place in order for him to get anything out of this presentation. So, and that's understandable because Martinez uses these colors specifically to represent different things, and it's kind of like learning the ABCs. Once you know the ABCs and what the different colors mean, it's easier to read the symbol and have an aha experience from the symbol, and maybe read the explanation to the symbol as well. So what I will do then now is
Can I ask another question?
sure.
Is it, what you were saying here is that, if I understand it, is that the godhead, or the God that is us, the central core of us, is actually communicating with 6 micro beings within inside us that operate all of the skeletal and muscular, etc. structures within our system. Are they separate of each other and of the godhead in terms of reaction and response, or are they governed by the godhead?
Okay, very interesting question. Briefly, Raven is asking, are these 6 different organ systems separate from the Godhead, working independently from the Godhead, or not? So basically, these white circles here, spheres or suns, they represent the eye of, in this case, the sexual organs, because the blue is culminating, right? So this is the eye. This eye is one with God. So this is the same eye. This is the eternal eye of God. This is the eternal eye of the microbeing. Or this, actually, this in this case, this is the eye of us, the eternal eye of us that have incarnated in our physical body. This is the physical body's eye. In this case, the sexual organs and sexual glands. That's organic structure there. that is the I there. So they are one, that's eternal, and this is eternal. So this I of the sexual organs here is having an experience filtered through these lenses. So that means that this I is having the experience of X3, all the manifested where all the 6 colors is X3. Because of this combination of the basic energies, basically these micro-individuals, different bodies, where the intuition energy is culminating, it means that the lenses that these bodies represent will give a different experience to this I compared to all the other 5 eyes, right? Because they have a different lens structure. It's a different filtering of the energies coming in from the manifest world. So these sexual organs would experience this kind of combination, whereas the skeletal system, or the bone structure, hair, minerals, that organic structure will experience a little different type of experience of the same basic energies, but because it's a different stage of evolution, the experience is different. That gives the being here a contrast, and that's what gives the dynamic of the spiral cycle, because the being up here culminating intuition eventually will get tired of always culminating in intuition and want to experience something else, and that hunger drives it towards a different stage of development, a different level of evolution, which is now in the mineral kingdom. He also calls it the kingdom of bliss. This is where the intuition, where the memory energy culminates, is an internal kingdom where the being experiences everything it has experienced in the entire spiral cycle, but inside its own world as memories. He calls these memories gold copies. Everything the being has experienced appears in gold copies, golden images. And this being can experience bliss in this state entirely in its own world. So, and that is why Martinus says that the kingdom of bliss, or the mineral kingdom, is like dead to us with physical, because we're over here, we see the physical world, but in here, culminating in memory energy, it's an internal world, so there's not a lot of externalization interaction there. Minerals, hair, bones, skeleton, there's no nerves in it. For example, I can pull my hair, I can cut my nails. There's no pain there because there's no nervous system in that skeletal mineral matter. Does that answer a little bit of your question, or?
In part, but what I'm saying is, what is the interaction between the godhead and that sphere that you're...
Okay. That's an interesting question. So I'm going to think about that question, because it's a very interesting question that Raymond states here. He says, what is the interaction between this sphere here, this sun, and this macro being right here? So if we go back to looking at this symbol as intended, the eternal world plan, like this is the macro being that is not a micro being inside another macro being. So that's another definition of the Godhead. And then this would be a living being representing, could be a planet, could be a galaxy, could be an atom, could be a lot of different beings. But let's just say that this is us, and we're right here. It's a human being culminating with feeling energy. So what Raven is asking is, what is the interaction between this I and this I? Not using the temporal aspect, but using the eternal aspect. Like, what is the interaction between the X1 of us and the X1 of the Godhead? Am I understanding that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the question is not related to x3. It's not related to the temporal aspect. It's related to the interaction between x1 and x2. Again, this is how Martinez explains the main symbol here. He puts x1 and x2 together, these two disks, and in that way x3 is created. And it looks like this. So, but we're not interested in x3 right now. We're interested in the interaction between x1 and x2. x1 again is the eternal, the unmanifest, the nameless variable x1. x2 is also a nameless variable, but it's the creative power. Martinus calls it the mother energy. And when these two are put together, there is manifestation. Manifestation happens. And you can see all these dots here, all the spheres. See all these little round things that become the spheres of the next symbol that we saw before, the main symbol. When x1 of the Godhead shines through these. So what we have to think about here is what is closest to x1, according to Martinez. What is closest to x1 without it being x1 itself? And Martinez says that is the primordial desire. The primordial desire is what is closest to x1 without being x1 itself. But we have to remember this is eternal. The primordial desire is eternal too. Everything in x1 and x2 are eternal principles, or they don't have beginnings and ends. So it's kind of you cannot understand these by using a relative identity, as a physical body, for example, is a relative identity. You can only understand this by using your absolute identity, which is where you are one with the Father, to use the terminology of Martinez, or you have to come from your eternal self in order to get an experience of this. Because this, you can't read yourself to this. It has to be self-experienced. It has to be like an unspoken knowing that comes from within you, because x1 is within you. x3 is external. x1 is internal. So this experience has to come from x1. It has to come from within yourself. So the experience is x1 can only experience something that has contrast. So in order to have contrast, there needs to be something that is not x1 itself, right? Because x1 is just like here, it's a white disk. You know, it's a white disk experience, and a white disk would be like no experience because no contrast. So the first little contrast, a little thing that is not x1 is the primordial desire, according to Martinez. So after the primordial desire, which is kind of like a longing to experience something, a longing to have a contrast to something that does not have contrast. So this longing is a longing to experience forms, because x1 is formless. So this longing to experience something that is not formless manifests as a primordial desire. What do I want to experience as x1? Me being an eternal being. What do I want to experience? That want, that longing is the primordial desire. And that filters through our male and female pole, which is also in the x2, the pole structure of the being. It filters through that. And it filters through the 6 talent kernels, and that filters in through the x3, the manifest world. So again, then we out in x3. Just for different perspective, x1 here, going through the primordial desire, the longing to experience form, through the pole structure, the maleness and the femaleness of the being. And the 6 talent kernels we here have is this longing is, for contrast, manifest as use of these 6 basic energies in a combination as 6 externalized bodies of manifestation that we can use to experience all the different contrasts, like lenses. We can experience all the forms that exist in the universe through these 6 basic energies. Again, there's red, which is instinct energy, orange, gravity energy, yellow, feeling energy, green, intelligence energy, blue, intuition energy, and indigo is the memory energy. In this symbol, Martinez has symbolized the microcosm that we talked about before, the 6 organ structures within a physical body, as if I could get a little bigger, oops, they're very big. We have this cross, which symbolizes the Martinez perfection, and we have the different microcosm represented here. There could be like organs, cells, atoms, so forth. All the layers of microcosm inside our physical body. This orange ring represents the physical body itself, and the limit or boundary threshold between the experience of spiritual worlds and physical worlds. Because right now, we humans have an experience of the physical world. We are day conscious in the physical aspects of life. Evolution will bring us forward to become more and more day conscious of the spiritual worlds. That's where we are right now in evolution as human beings. So what happens is this barrier that limits our sensing to entirely physical phenomena will eventually dissolve, and we'll be able to experience the spiritual worlds as well as the physical worlds. And that coincides with the birth of the intuition body that I touched upon before, and that the intuition body is able to see the spiritual worlds that the physical senses are not able to see. So that is an entirely different body we need to use. It's orange here because that signifies the gravity energy, the physical world, Martinez here. So we need to be able to use this blue one here. We need to be able to use the blue body in order to experience the spiritual worlds. We're not able to use this blue body, the intuition body, represented with the blue color. It's not a blue body, but he calls it the intuition body, symbolized by the blue color. The birth of that intuition body doesn't happen until this star. So right here we have the planet, and we have the consciousness of the beings on the planet that are beings that are in evolution from here all the way up to here. And this planet Earth moves this way, and eventually these beings first will become born with the, he kind of likens these orange zone, the kingdom of the animals, the animal kingdom, as a transitional state and as a womb where our intuition body is an embryo, because the intuition body is latent here. You see the culminating blue over here, but latent here. In the same way, the orange would be latent over here, gravity energy would be latent over there, but culminating here. So we're culminating in gravity energy. eventually we get so sick and tired and fed up and satiated with this physicality all the time. Like if you're eating your favorite dish all the time, in the beginning, yeah, it's good, but then even your favorite dish, after a while, you just get full of, right? So you begin to long for something else. This longing causes the entire planet to go through this evolutionary place where the intuition body is born. When this intuition body is born, we can begin to sense the spiritual worlds. And that is what we're longing for at that point in time. So that is what drives evolution. That is what drives the whole spiral cycle of evolution. It's basically, what do we want to experience? What are we tired of? What is the way that it has been? How do we want it to be? So basically that is what drives evolution. How do we want it to be? So
so can I just ask?
Yeah.
Is the ability to move out of the orange zone and advance in terms of becoming more intuitively aware, etc., the individual, or is it the collective that has to create that change? Has it got to be the collective, or is it on an individual basis that we're able to achieve that?
Yeah, I would say both. To restate Raven's question. Are we going in this evolution as individuals or as a collective species or planet, right? Do we have to do what the planet does, or can we just individually do different things? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's kind of like, do we have free will? That's kind of basically what you're asking, right?
Sure. One's choice to grow is one's choice.
Yeah.
And if one makes the choice to take a big growth in life, does that separate us from those that don't and allow us to move forward, or wait for everyone else to catch up?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So do we have? Well, there's two things to this. First of all, we're incarnated on a planet. So within the restraints or the limitations of the planetary consciousness, whatever consciousness that planet has as a living being, we can experience everything that the planet has to offer, the energy system of the planet has to offer, right? That's one aspect. So of course we can choose to incarnate on a different planet, and at that time there would be a different set of circumstances or opportunities available. Right now, because the planet we're incarnated on is at a certain step in evolution, all the beings that are longing for this type of experience characterized by this stage of evolution incarnates on the planet. So we have incarnated on the planet for some reason. I don't know why I have incarnated. Most people don't know why. But most people are at a certain spectral of evolution. And we can relate to certain people more than other people. And that is determined by where they are in evolution. For example, if I am here in evolution and I am meeting a being who is here in evolution, there's going to be a certain dissonance, lack of co-resonance, right? We're not really on the same wavelength. We're at two different stages of evolution. What I'm interested in here, this being is not. So in order for us to be in harmony, we need to be able to relate to beings that are at more or less the same evolutionary stage. That's kind of like the same principle of if you have a hobby, you want to be in a group that exclusively with beings that are interested in this same hobby. There's a shared interest, right?
Yeah.
That's the same kind of thing. That's that co-resonance. You're on the same wavelength. And then you can use your passion. Your passion sparks each other, and there's a synergy that happens. And things that you cannot do alone, you can do in this group, this community of beings with the same interests, right? That's the same principle of you're with people on the same evolutionary level. So within the restraints of this planet, yes, we can have certain experiences determined by the planet. Like let's say we have a primordial desire. We have a longing for experiencing something, and that longing is a hunger. We're hungry for something, right? That's eternal. That's in X2, the border between X1 and X2. That hunger for something, we have no control over. We kind of, with our personal will, say, I want this hunger, or I don't want this hunger. It is there. It sits in our eternal X2. What we do have a free will over is how do we satiate this hunger? Like if I'm hungry, do I go to Burger King and eat a bunch of junk food, or do I go to the health food store and eat like sprout sandwich and all kind of green stuff, healthy stuff, right? That is my free will. The hunger is not. So yes, we do have a free will within certain constraints. Then that's the kind of the same thing. We do have a free will on the planet within the restraints of what is available on the planet in terms of evolution, in terms of monetary systems. Some planets don't have monies. You know, some planets are more evolved than this planet. This planet is here. Maybe other planets are here. And monetary systems, Martinez states, is a form of killing. It's diluted killing. So instead of killing someone, shooting, knifing, or whatever, bombing, we're using money to send a bill, for example. We bill people. That's diluted killing, right? Then people pay and we get stuff. You know, that is like territorial, collecting things. It's like of the animal kingdom. We pile up money, we become more and more wealthy. I'm not saying money is bad, I'm just saying it's the principle of killing. So Martinez says that until the world will have abolished monetary system, there will not be peace on this planet. So that's a pretty bold statement. That basically means that we need to find other systems of interacting with energies than the monetary system. There are a lot of systems out there. There are like bartering systems and stuff like that. And so that's like the inception to a system that is free of monetary exchange. Of course, you can do a lot of good with money. You can invest in sustainable companies and stuff like that. And I'm not saying money is bad. I'm just saying we are on a planet right now that has a monetary system, and we have to work within the constraints of the monetary system. Yeah. And I really like your questions, Raymond. That's good. Just this one here is, we have the planet here, planet Earth. And we have a lot of different planets here. Some are further ahead in evolution, some are not as far ahead as the planet Earth. So this is all relative, right? Evolution is relative. Like with money, there's always going to be somebody who has more money than you. There's always somebody who has less money than you, regardless of how many money you have. So that is that relativity of X3, the relativity of the manifest world. Again, here there are planets that are further ahead, planets that are further behind than the planet Earth. So when we incarnate here, there are certain restraints depending on the energies, the combination of the basic energies that represent this evolutionary period. So this planet Earth will take a while to go this way in evolution. Will take it a while to evolve out of a monetary system, to evolve into cosmic consciousness. Of course, when the planet experiences cosmic consciousness, and Martinez says the planet is actually in the process of experiencing or being born cosmically, which is it's gaining cosmic consciousness. Martinez used the word cosmic as a synonym for spiritual. So it's a spiritual consciousness that the planet will experience here, which means it'll sense the spiritual worlds and not just the physical world. That's the direction of evolution. So we as micro-individuals on the planet will experience these energies because we have no choice. Just like your lungs, for example, have no choice. If you go into a room where people are smoking, your lungs have no say. You know, they have to breathe the smoke, right? So that's the atmosphere that you put yourself in. Your micro-individuals have to just follow that. Again, we have to just follow whatever the planet is doing. And right now, according to Martinez, it takes, he says, correct me if I'm wrong, he says it's like 15 minutes. In 15 cosmic minutes, the planet Earth will have cosmic consciousness. So, but to us, 15 minutes to the Earth is like 3,000 years. It's 500 years for the beings here that are furthest in evolution. It's about 3,000 to these beings that are way back here. So that's the kind of difference in evolution. So, but we'll all get through this and experience cosmic consciousness. How that's going to play out, I have no idea, because it's like the planet is being born cosmically, spiritually. The planet's intuition body is being born out of its embryonic state. How is that going to affect us as micro individuals? I don't know. Martinez says like we, the human beings on the planet, are the brain cells and the sexual cells of the planet. The brain cells of the planet, we're the nervous system of the planet, right? According to Martinez. So what that means is there's going to be a lot of pressure on us as brain cells of the planet, because there's going to be a lot of more of light coming in, spiritual light coming in through the senses, the intuition body of the planet, right through that intuition body, which is a spiritual body. So we need to process that as brain cells and as sexual cells. And remember from before that the sexual cells are culminating in intuition energy, and the brain cells are culminating in intelligence energy, right? So we need to, as micro-individuals on the planet, we need to train ourselves to use a lot of that intelligence and intuition energy.
Well, could you explain a little about, I don't know, it's not the issue today, but could you explain a little, very short, about reincarnation and karma, as Martinus sees it?
Okay. So Jan is asking, how do Martinez see, what is Martinez's perspective on karma and reincarnation? Yeah. So basically here we are, every time we see a triangle, it signifies a living being to Martinez. We have a ray-formed energy body that signifies perfection. So basically this is X1 and X2. X3 is all the violet arcs of energy, the waves of energy that we send out as an eternal eye, right? Because we're longing for something, that longing manifests in the world of form, and that wave goes into the world of form and comes back to the eye. That interplay in that cycle of energy, that is where experience takes place. So the experiences are all the energies that come back to us, which we have sent out in the past. That is our life experience. So a lot of people think, why is this happening to me? And to me, myself too, I don't know why things happen to me, because I don't have that eternal perspective. I don't have cosmic consciousness to see, 3 lives back, so-and-so happened, and this happened, and that's why. And I don't need that. I don't need to look in my past lives. In fact, Martinez recommends not to, because things can happen with your spiral centers and stuff that you need to go in and open the spirals of in X2, and then maybe they don't close all the way back. And because what happens is that experience that I had in past lives has become a talent kernel. The essence of those experiences that I have made in the past are like stored as talent kernels in my X2, in my superconsciousness, in that purple part of me, in the mother energy. Those talent kernels can be transferred and used in other circumstances. So I can use those talents I have developed in different ways. I can combine that experience I've done in the past and have new experiences that are a little more interesting, because I was tired of what happened in the past. I'm longing for something in the future. That longing is that drive. It gives me the joy of living. It gives me, this is new. This is fresh. It's like, I never experienced that before. It's very satisfying to have these experiences. So I do not recommend looking in past lives. Martinez doesn't. If you do, that's fine. But it's not something Martinez recommends. So what is this life experience that happens to us? That is the energy that comes back, that we have sent out. Also, it's the energy from other beings that are sending energy out. So other beings are starting their karma, right? Their wave of energy. And we are receiving, we are starting our own, but we're also receiving our own energy. The waves are coming back. So that's the two aspects of what is karma, what is our life experience. It's called the eternal body. Here again, there's a little different perspective to the same principle. There's the past, there's the future. Right here's the eternal now. And these orange rectangles represent physical lives. We see these physical lives a little darker, and these are not as dark. This physical life, we send out energy, and it comes back. Sometimes it comes back in the same life, sometimes it comes back in different lives. It all depends on what type of energy we send out. This one here, a little bit different perspective on the same principle. Karma, what is it? What is the energy we experience in our lives? Why do we experience it? I don't know why. I'm not interested in why. I'm interested in how can I experience what I want to experience. So what I'm saying is, karma, like things that happened in the past, that's in the past. That's how it's been. How do you want it to be? That's the direction, that's the drive, that's where the joy is. That's where you find happiness. That's my perspective, at least. Maybe you have a different perspective, I don't know. and you're entitled to have a different perspective. It's actually interesting that you're not just agreeing with me. So, according to Martinez, these energies that we send out come back. Again, we have this one life, next life, 2 lives ahead, 3 lives ahead. We see how this yellow flame figure here, it grows bigger and bigger. And what happens is, all this energy that we have sent out, sometimes maybe we have murdered people, we have been not so nice. That energy will come back to us, but if in the meantime we have developed our compassion, our neighborly love, as Martinez terms it, this yellow neighborly love, this feeling energy that is growing to become eventually all loving, loving everybody the same, regardless of what we prefer personally, then this energy waves coming back, these arc of faith coming back, burn up in our energy structure, in our aura. They cannot come in and manifest in our lives because we don't need that experience in a physical life circumstances, because we are almost totally loving. So there's no need to repeat what we all have already learned. So that is kind of like a security or a vent or that prevents us from all the reruns. Oh, been there, done that. Oh, why haven't I learned that already? It prevents us from getting stuck. As long as we develop this all-loving behavior and way of being towards everybody.
So what you're saying then is that we are then able to extinguish the karma of our past by the current process of the way we live our lives today. Through that.
Yes. Rabin is asking, are we able to extinguish our karma by the way we live our life today? And is that correctly understood?
Yeah.
And I said, yes, it is, because anatomically what happens is, in our energy field, our auric field, we build up this frequency of all love. When this all love is vibrating in our energy field, that is our cosmic protection. If we are all loving, we are cosmically protected because we love everybody. So that means we are protected to the same degree that we love everybody. So when this bad karma comes back, these arcs of fate and whatever we have done, these waves of revenge or whatever we have done, returns. And I don't know how they return or who determines the time schedule or how these energies return, but they diffuse, they vaporize in this field of all loving emanation that we build up in our energy fields. They diffuse, they vaporize, and because that happens on a spiritual level, they cannot come in and manifest on a physical level. So in that way, we are protected in that way. And Martinez says, when he was alive, he said that he could not understand how beings on this planet would dare not to pray every day. So to Martinez, prayer is intimately connected to all love. Using prayer is an application of all love. Of course, selfless prayer, unselfish prayer is an application of all love. Yes?
Do we have to believe for the prayer to work?
Not according to Martinez. He says it doesn't matter if you believe in it or not. If you pray, it'll work. And the guidelines that Martinez gave us for praying is in the Father, the prayer of the Father is called, in Danish is called Fader vor, which means in English, the Lord's Prayer. So it's the prayer of the Father. How do we pray in that structure? He says it's not just about memorizing Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, and so forth. It's not the memorization. It's the actual essence of what is behind these sentences, these thought concentrations that he calls them. These are 9 thought concentrations that we can meditate on. And to Martinez, that's the only safe way of meditation. To myself, I actually like the definition of meditation that is given by Maxwell C. Cade. And he defines meditation as the absence of thoughts, the absence of thoughts and the absence of physical movement. So like sitting still without any thoughts. That's my favorite definition of meditation. So what Martinez, the way Martinez used meditation is he could see that a lot of people were using meditation like Kundalini yoga and all kind of different meditations, and they would do things that he could see would not be they would not be ready for it because they were not at a stage where they had developed their moral code to the degree that they could handle these high spiritual energies within their energy system. So Martinez warned against all these artificial ways of raising your consciousness level, and that's why he says that the only form of safe meditation is to pray within the structure of the Lord's Prayer. So, but we have to understand that that's his perspective, and you know it's okay to have that perspective because you can really do a lot of harm to yourself if you don't know what you're doing and you don't have the moral code to support these high spiritual energies that come in to your system. Basically, you can short circuit your system, and you can end up in a mental hospital. There's a lot of cases like that. So you have to be very careful with these spiritual energies and what you're doing. So if you really want to do safe meditation, Martinez recommends the thought concentrations of the Lord's Prayer, and these 9 concentrations, to really ponder what does it mean. And he wrote a book called The Mystery of Prayer, and he actually goes in and he explains what does these thought concentrations mean. So this is a different type of meditation. It's actually a concentration on a subject, on a thought. You are concentrating your thought. You're focusing your thought on a certain quality. And that's how Martinez uses meditation. Maxwell C. Cade uses meditation. It's basically like the absence of thought and the absence of movement. You're sitting still, not thinking. And that's, to me personally, I prefer that definition of meditation. So there's a difference between meditation and prayer. There are 2 different things because prayer has thoughts. Meditation, to me, and Maxwell C. Cade, does not have thought. It's the absence of thought. So that's a little bit different way of using the same word. And that's what gets a little tricky when you start learning a new subject, even at universities and stuff. You need to first be familiar with the terminology of the subject because different faculties use the same word in different ways. So that's why it's very important to get familiar with the terminology so you know when you use the terminology within this field, it means this. If you use it within another field, it means a different thing. So that's, you get used to that. Just need to repeat and repeat again. So that's how you learn how these different terminologies mean different things.
So, but what are you saying then in terms of whether it's prayer or meditation? In Martinez's perspective, what are you trying to achieve through both either?
So Raven is asking, according to Martinez, what are we trying to achieve through prayer and what are we trying to achieve through meditation? Basically, to Martinez, meditation is the same as prayer. He doesn't go into what is meditation. He just says, if you want to meditate, this is the Lord's Prayer. Read the book, the Mystery Prayer, and that'll give you a concentration of thought. So he doesn't go into what is meditation. He doesn't define it further than that. And that's the end of that. Did that answer your question?
No, so what is the purpose of the prayer or the meditation? What are you attempting to do?
Okay. So, in prayer, again we have X1 here, you, the eternal I, the X2, your creative capacity, and X3, your 6 bodies of manifestation. When we pray, we're actually trying to communicate with this white disk, right? Our eternal self, where we are at one with the Godhead. We're trying to strengthen our vertical connection. This is like a vertical connection. Here we are, there's a vertical connection. This vertical connection here between us and the Godhead is eternal. We're not always experiencing this vertical connection due to the evolutionary stage where we're currently situated. Like if here we're a living being, this is a being that is a natural, primitive man, has a lot of feeling, not so much intelligence. But that vertical connection is still there. This one is always there. It's always there. But the lens through which this vertical connection is perceived and experienced is like, I think there is something. There is something divine. I just don't know what it is. But I believe it's there somewhere. This quality, this like evolution goes this way, right? So this being is a little more evolved, a little more intelligence, not so much feeling, but still overweight of feeling. This being believes for certain there is something, there is a God. I believe in God, this being is saying right here. I don't know what this God is, that's a question mark. But it's enough for me to believe that there's a God in the story. There's no searching for answers. What is this God? So the next being right here has an overweight of intelligence and not so much feeling energy, right? So what that means is it's materialistically minded being. This being is an atheist. So this vertical connection is experienced as there's no God. You know, when I die, it's just black. There's nothing. You know, so I better just get out there and get a bunch of experiences as fast as I can because, you know, when I step into the grave, that's over. It's like one life perspective. That's no more. That's an atheist. That experience of the Godhead as there's no God, that is a belief in no God. It's still a belief. So it's interesting actually in America they have these churches now where they are the atheists are gathering for like Sunday worship, and they're worshiping that they don't believe in God. So they're getting together and having all the music and the singing, and it's being social, and it's great, right? You meet people and you're experiencing different interests and conversation and so forth. It's great. But then these different groups of atheists are starting to say, well, you know, the way you're not believing in God is not the right way to not believe in God. So it's kind of interesting because the belief in not God is still a belief, you know. So, but it's, according to Martinez, more evolved than just the people are just believing it's, you know, they don't need materialistic science or all the natural sciences that these beings do, the scientists and all that. You know, they need evidence, right? You need to formulate a hypothesis, and you need to go out and prove that this hypothesis is probable. You need probabilities, right? You need a lot of math to do that, physics and so forth. That's these green intelligence energy. So you need to be able to qualify your belief. So you need to be able to have a theory or a hypothesis, and then you need to do empirical research, right? Objectivity. You need to have a lot of objectivity. So my question is to these scientists is, how can you make a hypothesis and not believe in it? Because basically most scientists, what they do is they want to prove something. They make a hypothesis the way they want it to see it, right? They make their lens right there. That's their belief system. They go out looking for it, you know? It's like the white swan, black swan thing, you know? How do you prove that only white swans in the world? You know, you make the hypothesis there are only white swans, and you go out and you find another white swan. There's a white swan, there's a white swan. And that doesn't prove that there are only white swans. You could do this for many years, and you have, you can build up a probability that there are a lot of white swans, right? That means there's probably not a lot of black swans. But it's not 100% sure, right? Still a belief. So what I'm saying is, if you really want to bypass that observer interference, the observer interference, what you call it, the observer interference, it's kind of like the placebo effect, right? That effect, if you want to bypass that placebo effect or observer interference, you need to create your hypothesis so it is something you don't believe in. Because then you're bypassing your filter, your belief filter, right? So what you're doing is, for example, if I wanted to prove that my belief is chocolate, dark chocolate is healthy, right? So my hypothesis should not be go out and give people dark chocolate and look for all the health signs of dark chocolate. It would be dark chocolate makes you unhealthy, right? Or dark chocolate gives you some kind of disease, right? And then you go out and look for that because that is contrary to your own belief. And it's kind of hard to do research that way, but it's very effective because you're bypassing that observer interference placebo effect of your own belief system, your own hypothesis. So just that's for all the scientists in the world. So here we have the skeleton. That's how Martinez symbolizes this quality of this vertical connection. This is a being who is in perfect balance between their intelligence and their feeling. It's actually a being who is all-loving. And this being experiences the Godhead in this quality of the vertical connection. So this white sphere here, this oneness with the God that we are at all times, this being experiences this vertical connection the way it is, like eternal. And it's called the eternal cosmic organic connection between God and the Son of God. Again here, cosmic means spiritual. So it's an eternal spiritual organic connection between God and the Son of God. Spiritual means it's not physical. So it is eternal, which means it's not manifest. It's not one of the 6 colors, right? It is white. So when we pray, it's not that we strengthen this connection, it's just that we are communicating with God's source. This connection is always there. It's just that our experience of it strengthens.
What is Martinus's view on what is God, and why is it called so?
Okay. Raven is asking, what is God and why is it called so? This is God, but actually God is not the correct term. Actually, this is a nameless variable. Some people call it God, some people call it X1, some people call it fill in the blank, right? You have a whole slew of names. So that is the answer to that. So there's something else.
Why is it called so?
Yeah, why is it called so?
What you're pointing at is a white star.
Yeah.
So what is that white star?
Okay.
X1. What is X1?
Yeah. X1, according to Martinez, is something that is.
Cool. Okay.
So we cannot define X1 other. We cannot define formlessness other than it's something that is. It's alive. It's not something that isn't. It's something that is, because if it wasn't, we wouldn't be here. If it wasn't, there would be no life. It would just be no contrast, nothing, right? So that's why it's something that is. So, yeah, and that's kind of that's where we go into the internalization or the inside world of how do we communicate with this, right? And that's highly individual. How do we communicate with this?
So if this X1 is the something that is, or what someone else may call God, and we are God, then we are X1. Yeah?
Yeah.
Completely.
Completely. So what Raven just said is...
So is it okay to change my name?
Yeah, sure. What do you want to be called?
Oh, God will do.
Huh?
God will do.
God will do, okay. So, yeah, that's true. Because we're all God on the inside, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And that is this one here. We're all God on the inside. Again, that white disc, right?
So then we're praying to ourselves then?
Exactly.
Okay.
We're praying to our absolute identity, which is at one with that which has no name.
So then if Martinus is saying that we must continue to grow and expand and we must help to move this planet on towards the next evolutionary process, coming into out of the orange, should I say, and into that cosmic awareness, if we're already God, why must we do that? Yeah, if we're all already God, why do we have to go through this evolution? Why do we have to experience all this darkness all over again, right? That's the question, basically. Well, if we're already God, why must we...
Yeah.
What are we growing for? We're already God.
Interesting. Why are we growing if we're already God? Okay. So actually, we're not already God to some extent, because we're not that macro being that is not a micro being inside another macro being. In other words, we are micro beings inside the planet. The planet is a micro being inside the solar system. The solar system is the micro being inside the galaxy. The galaxy is the micro being inside a cluster of galaxies and so forth, right? So that all that difference in size, but basically Martinez says there is no size. All sizes are the same size. But because of the principle of contrast, it seems like the galaxy is really big and I'm small, and my atoms are really small and I'm really big. That relativity is to give us an experience of contrast, is to give us joy, is to experience joy because it's fun, basically. That's why we are experiencing ourselves not as God all the time, to get that contrast, because we are God, at one with God at all times. But in order to get the contrast, we go through experiencing a separation from the eternal in order to become hungry for the oneness again. Because if we were just experiencing oneness 100% of the time, or just like be a little boring, right? It's like you're eating your favorite dish every single day, and it's just your favorite dish, and it's your favorite dish, and it's, but after a while, it's not your favorite dish because you're satiated with it, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So if that oneness is love, if that eternal being is love, and we come here to experience love in a physical form, and the contrast of physical love compared to spiritual love, that love is what we're all seeking, that it is the root of everyone's ill and ail in this world, a lack of it. And why don't we just stay in that eternal cosmic place of love, which is where we're trying to get back to in the first place?
Okay. So I think you can basically hear. So what the question is. So I'm just restating kind of the essence of it. Like if you're already there at one with God, and why would we go through all the trouble of experiencing not being at one with God? Correct?
That love, God being love, yeah.
God being love. So here this is tricky because God, you can't even say this is God. You can say it's something that is. You can't even say it's love because it's nameless. Martinez says it's a nameless variable. Why does he use variable? Because people call it different things, right? And that's why he says x1, like in math and physics, you use a variable x. It can be a lot of different things. It can be love, can be God, can be fill in the blank. So this is very interesting, and that's kind of I don't think thoughts can explain this. I say I don't know. I can use Socratic method, right? I don't know, but I have some hunches and some theories of my own. But basically, if you're already one with God, why would we want to experience being anything else, right? And Martinus says that it's because we are one with God in all these 5 kingdoms. We are double-poled in all these 5 kingdoms here. Let's use a little different symbol. We're double-poled in all the 5 kingdoms except the orange, right? That's where we are right now, in the orange, in the animal kingdom, in the transition from the animal kingdom to the real human kingdom. So this is the transition from this orange to the yellow here. So we're somewhere in between here. What we can see in this symbol is there's a pole structure of the being. This is a female being. Its pole structure, its primary pole is female, is signified by this yellow line here, and its secondary pole is male, signified by the green intelligence energy here. as you probably guessed, this is a male being with a primary pole with the green, intelligence, and the secondary pole, yellow, feeling energy. So the male being is, in order for a male being to become more and more evolved, relatively to our evolutionary stage where we're at right now here in evolution, the male being needs to get in touch with his feelings and develop his emotional ear, his ability to listen to his own emotions and to communicate his emotions and to really feel what is going on inside him. Because he has already this ability to think, develop this intelligence energy. The female being here has the ability to feel develop, as the yellow, right, is full, but needs to be able to train her reasoning skills, her sense of logic, her ability to think clearly and not just give in to emotions, but to really intellectualize her feelings. So basically Martinez says females need to intellectualize their feelings, and males need to not feelerize, but emotionalize their thoughts, their intelligence, right? Men need to, when they have a thought, they need to be aware of what is the feeling that this thought is generating in me. Whereas the females need to listen to their feelings and just percolate in their feelings a little more, ferment in their feelings, and allow their ability to think, to refine these feelings. And in this refinement, in the male and the female, there is love being generated. All love is being generated in their energy fields. So, and as evolution goes forward, we see how these green and the yellow energies, they move to the double-poled state. And they will stay double-poled in the 5 other kingdoms. It's only in the animal kingdom that we experience this one-poled state. And there's a whole spectrum of different levels of how evolved is the secondary pole in the human being, right? So this one-pole state is the culmination of darkness. You see how this thing is culminating in darkness? Darkness, or the experience of being separate from God, or being separate from that which we are at all times, is determined by this one-pole state. So when we culminate in one-poledness, that's the culmination of darkness. When we culminate in the double-pole state, which we're already double-poled here, but there's a further growth of the poles, and when it culminates in the blue evolutionary step, which is in the divine will, where the intuition energy culminates, we see this is where the light is culminating.
Well, you have to explain where we are now for reason.
Yeah, what that means is that is where we experience most clearly that we are one with God. So before we saw the symbol that it's the eternal organic connection between God and Son of God, that is eternal. But this is where we experience it to the fullest. This is where we cannot really experience it because the darkness is culminating. So we're right here in evolution. Well, it depends. Human beings are anywhere from here to here, right? Is that what was that it? Yeah, we're anywhere from.
You need to know
Yeah,
where we are.
animals are totally one-poled, right? We're not all animals. We have a little, more consciousness than that. Even though a lot of people on the planet is using that territorial animal-like consciousness to just practice every man for himself, so an eye for an eye, tooth for tooth, that kind of predatorial energy or level of consciousness, and using their intelligence energy to amplify that and enhance that with weapons and bombs and all that kind of technological enhancement of the animal nature. So, but that's where we are in evolution. The question was, where are we in evolution? So we're, depending on how evolved we are, we're anywhere from like here to here. This would be animal, all animal, one-poled, but we're a little more evolved than that. Right here is where we have cosmic consciousness. This is where our intuition body is born. So basically, this area right here is where our intuition body is latent. That is where our intuition body is in the embryo. So this world where we are is like our intuition body is an embryo in this world. It doesn't sense the spiritual worlds. Only when we are born out of this embryonic state, we experience the spiritual worlds. And
Bob, are we able to determine how far along that line we are in terms of closeness to that cosmic awareness, or are any of our beings on this planet now already tipping into that cosmic awareness?
According to Martinez, Christ was the only person who had a cosmic consciousness on this planet. And Martinez actually had cosmic consciousness in a previous life, and when he was 30, due to the period of repetition, it was activated in this life on this planet. That's actually the first time he came on this planet, according to himself. And he said he didn't really learn anything new here, other than being a world redeemer for an entire planet. So that's what he experienced, and he's not going to reincarnate here. So according to him, there hasn't been anybody with the same level of cosmic consciousness. But what is interesting is that there will be, because evolution goes onwards, and eventually everybody on the planet will be at the same level of consciousness as Martinez represents, which is cosmic consciousness. What is interesting is that if we look at this one, or actually, if we look at this one here, the combinations of the basic energies, we can see that we are in evolution right here in this transition from the orange to the yellow, from the animal kingdom to the real human kingdom. So we have the restrictions of this combination of energies, right? We're culminating, or we have culminated in the gravity energy, and we're going towards a culmination of feeling energy. What that means is we have lived out this hunger for killing. Explosion energy here, gravity energy. Killing principle is also called the orange. And we are longing, we've been so satiated with it that we're longing for peace. This is where feeling energy culminates. The love energy is culminating here. So this transition is where we are. Some beings on this planet are still not satiated with the killing principle. They're still culminating in it. So the actual culmination of that is like atomic bombs and all that kind of stuff, you know. That is real common. It doesn't get more killing than that. Then when that is saturated, these beings eventually become more and more loving, more and more yellow. What is interesting is that Martinez represents an evolutionary level that is right here, which means his intuition body was born. So at least he's here. At least. The beings that are on this planet that eventually will get to the star will go out of the latent state of their their intuition body, they will go out of this embryonic state, right? The latent state that their intuition body is in, symbolized by the blue line here. And then we enter into the increase of the intuition energy, culminating way up in the divine world. So right here is cosmic consciousness. This is the great birth, Martinez calls it. The great birth. This is the birth of the intuition body from its embryonic state, culminating in killing principles, to the incipient awareness of the spiritual worlds. And then we start to culminate in all love here, right? We see still here, it's just the inception. Eventually it will culminate. So way up here in the divine world, where intuition culminates in the blue, that's the culmination of our intuition body. That's where we experience oneness with God to the fullest. Right here, we're just beginning to experience this oneness with God. Just beginning. But it's a very important step. So, to answer your question, there is beings at all these different evolutionary stages. But until you're right here, beginning in the yellow, you will not have an ability to experience spiritual realities. You will not have the ability, because that's the ability of the intuition body. You can experience feelings and thoughts, intelligence here, right? And instinct energy, which is like, to some extent, I think Martinus defines like the sexuality, like as the combination of instinct and gravity energy with a little bit of intuition. So it's mostly instinct and gravity energy and a little bit intuition. Of course, there's some feeling energy involved too, right? But is it all love? Is romantic love all love? Is amorous love all love? Martinez says amorous love is actually the opposite of all love, because it limits your love to only one person. So, and that eventually, if you don't get that love returned, if there's not a mutual love there that sustains that amorous love, that sustains the whole sphere of creating children and living in a family and all that stuff. If you don't, if you're like in a relationship where you have somebody's unrequited love, then it can turn like sour. You become revengeful, right? Why is that person not loving me back? And you can actually become a murderer. That's to the extreme, right? But you can do not so loving things to this person that is not returning the love. Yeah, Raven.
I take this word intuition, intuitive, that you use, and I break that down to mean in teaching, to be in learning, in the presence of learning. And so I see a lot of people intuitively, in teaching, learning, different abilities and skills beyond those that we would normally classify as within the blinkered abilities of us as human beings right now. So on that basis, those individuals are processing into that intuitive stage already. But is it still going to be a planetary process of intuitive growth, or is it going to be the individuals that get to that intuitive stage and then just don't come back here because they've done their bit, they've moved on?
Okay. So the question is, and I would say both, the question is, will the planet as a whole experience this in a birth of an intuition body, or is it individuals on the planet that experience this birth of the intuition body? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So my answer is both, because the planet is a living being, and that is having an experience in the cosmic evolutionary spiral. right here, and it will get to the star, which represent the birth of the intuition body. There are beings on the planet that are further ahead in their evolutionary spiral compared to the planet. And of course they will experience cosmic consciousness or the birth of their intuition body sooner than the planet, and some later. Of course, it's all relative. If you look at this symbol, we see that here's a human being, and here this white represents different evolutionary stages, and here's a planet. So eventually this human being will experience cosmic consciousness, right? Right here, by the star again. This is where the intuition body is being born, right here. This is where the intuition is latent, is that blue line. This is where it starts to increase, right here. So right here, this is the great birth. This is the star and the other symbol. So when independently off the planet, of course, these beings that are humans can go through this evolutionary spiral, experience cosmic birth, grow their intuition body from like an infant, of course. I don't know what else you would say. It's and an infant would grow up. This takes millions of years now, right? So this intuition body is growing, and right here it reaches its mature stage, adult stage. This is a combination of intuition energy, the combination of cosmic consciousness, which had its inception right here. Now, when this human being has evolved all the way through here and been satiated with this feeling of oneness with the eternity, it begins to long for the physical worlds again. Basically, these three worlds down here are physical, and these three on top are spiritual worlds. So in this longing, they're right here, dictated by their primordial desire or their longing for contrast, they begin, and this is millions of years again, to incarnate in physical matter, not as human beings again, but as planets. And this symbol represents a planet, right? Again, this planet goes through the same structure of the 6 basic energies, right? It goes through, it experiences cosmic birth, go through the entire evolutionary cycle, and similar to before, wants to experience the contrast of light, goes into incarnation, into darkness. So it incarnates in the world of matter once more to experience this darkness, this contrast, because it's hungry for it. And it incarnates as a solar system. And again, this whole evolutionary spiral repeats itself. Now, the next time they incarnate into matter, it's as a galaxy. And then it repeats itself infinitely. So after the galaxy, you'll incarnate as a cluster of galaxies, which actually, according to Martinez, looks like atoms. So then these atoms go through the cosmic evolutionary spiral, reincarnates as cells. The cells go through the spiral, reincarnates as organs. The organs go through, reincarnates as human beings, and so forth. These 7 principles of organism repeats themselves indefinitely, infinitely. So if you look inside a microcosm, you look inside your organs, you will see down to the atoms, and then below atoms you will actually see clusters of galaxies, not the size of galaxies, but clusters of galaxies in the principle of how the organs or the organisms, the living beings, look inside your atoms. And then this pattern repeats itself, right?
So, just to pull it back a little bit, if I may, the start of the blue line is where Martinez had his cosmic birth. Yeah?
Correct?
And if that is the intuition,
Yeah.
the in-teaching,
Yeah.
it's when he began to learn all about this stuff. Yeah. So conversely,
Yeah.
you've had 30 years
Yeah.
learning all about this stuff. You must now be in tuition, as must our friend here be in tuition.
I would know if I had cosmic consciousness, and I don't. But what is interesting is that that's not what I want. I wanted this one here. You're talking about this line here, right? This vertical line here?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a physical body, right? I can only speak for myself. So Raymond is asking, I've studied this for 30 years, so I should have a cosmic consciousness, right?
No, what I'm saying is that you are in a tuition process. You're in a learning process
Oh, yeah.
of this whole
The way you
process.
use intuition, correct,
Yeah.
in teaching, yeah.
So you are already in teaching of it. I don't mean teaching someone else. You're learning it. You're
Yes.
being taught
Yes,
this process.
yes.
So if you're learning this process now and have been for 30 years, then you must be quite significantly into that intuitive body energy yourself, as must our friend.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because what we're doing is, when we study our ideology, when we read and stuff, something that's not self-experience, what we're doing, we're using our intelligence to learn something, right? The book is teaching us something and we're learning it. We're students of it.
So do you believe it?
Do I believe?
What you're teaching right now?
To me, it's a theoretical perspective, and I have verified a lot of the things that are in this perspective in my world to be true, and that's important, in my world.
So intuitively, do you believe it?
Intuitively, I don't believe it, but I know, I can feel it. It's an unspoken knowing that I have that this works. This works. It works for me. And I hope it works for you too. If it doesn't, that's fine. I'm totally okay with it.
Oh, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating.
So,
It challenges me,
good. It's always good to,
which I find fascinating.
yeah, challenges are good. Should, any more challenges? Or?
We have got a few questions from Sandy Scott. I think she's from London.
Okay,
I forgot to tell you because I was listening to your conversation.
okay.
She said, but it's a long time ago. She said, "Hello. Do you think that looking at one's past life ever be good or helpful thing?"
Okay. I think I understand the question from Sandy. It is, do you think that looking into your past lives would ever be helpful in your experience? And I would say, as an exception, yes. There might be an exception to your situation that it helped you. But according to Martinez, that's an exception. And there are always exceptions to the rules. This is not carved in stone. There are always exceptions. And but if you look at the statistics of how many people would be helped by looking into past life regression, statistically, it would be highly improbable that it would help. So I don't know if there are any research out there available, or but of course, you know, if you are practicing past life regression, of course it is your way of earning an income, and of course you would be believing in what you're doing, and of course you would take care of regressing these people to the best of your capabilities, and hopefully using prayer in the process. So I hope that answers your question.
I think so, because a little later she concluded herself, "I've chosen to be here in this third dimension for this lifetime, and this is what I need to be concentrating on.
Yeah, that's very good.
See, yes. When she heard your explanation, she was thinking to put that question, and then you gave it, long time ago, you gave it by this karma go system, simple.
Yeah, just to touch a little bit further on that, I can just relay to you what Martinez said, and then you can make up your own mind. What he said about past life regression was that in the past lives that we all have, we have had infinite amount of experiences, right? All those experiences are stored as gold copies. And our intuition body can see those gold copies when it gets into the kingdom of bliss. We're not in the kingdom of bliss right now. We're in the kingdom of the killing principle zone, which is the transitional zone between the animal and the real human kingdom. Now, when we look inside our past life, if you go to like regression, past life regression, and in order to see details of what happened there, that's not really helpful, usually not helpful, because all those details have been stored as what Martinez calls talent kernels. Talent kernels, which is the essence of all the details. Basically, it's like a concentrate that you can use in other contexts of this physical life right now. You can use this talent in other scenarios. But if you try to look inside the details of this concentrate, this talent kernels that you have, and these are talent kernels, these, the 6 colors, these are right here. These are 6 talent kernels. He also calls them spiral centers. When we go through past life regression, these spiral centers need to go out of their concentration state, out of their essence state, where you're using them, you're utilizing them in your present life. You need to go in and open these spiral centers so all the details become available, and if these spiral centers are not closed again when you're done experiencing all the details, and they stay open, you can get all kind of mental retardation, and you think you're somebody, Napoleon or whatever, because they're not closed again. So you need to be able to close these spiral centers to come back to this concentrate where you don't experience the details, but just a concentrate. Actually, the core of the experience, right? That is stored as a concentrate in X2 here. So that is how Martinez explains. That can be the danger of past life regression. Of course, there are exceptions where, if you're totally stuck and it helped, and there are some people that can do this, and there are high cosmic beings that worked with this past life regression practitioner, of course, and of course if the practitioner uses prayer and you're safe and all that kind of stuff. But more often than not, there's a danger involved in this practice. Yeah.
Does Martinez have a view on the principles of remote viewing and doing so?
Does Martinez have a view on remote viewing and practicing remote viewing?
Yeah.
Yes. This symbol basically means, let me just read the title, Animal and Human Thought Climates. Again, we have X1 and X2 out here. See the white, purple, and blue-green. And then we have X3 right here. These are all the thought climates that are in the consciousness of living beings. Right here, down here, in the all orange, animals, animal consciousness. And then we see that the yellow begins. Here's the inception of feeling, the inception of experiencing the world, not just ego-centered, but beginning to have a perspective of other people's view. And these two evolutionary stages or periods symbolize the happy marriages zone. These are the unhappy marriages zone. These are the zone of infertility, and then we have the real human kingdom with the all yellow here. We see that reading this symbol, this being that is, right, for example, here in evolution, which most people are in these two evolutionary stages right here, most people are culminating in belief, in feeling, the ability to believe. It's enough to just believe things. So these beings have a combination of all these thought climates simultaneously. In their consciousness, they would have these different type of thought climates. And you can read the details in the Eternal Will Picture 3. According to Martinez, this is a psychic thought climate, and this is the thought climate that beings use to like clairvoyance, clairaudience, remote viewing, and miracle healing, and voodoo and stuff like that. Because if you're down here in evolution and you use this psychic thought climate, you use this black magic. If you're up here in evolution, you would use the same thought climate as white magic. Basically, Martinez says that this psychic thought climate evolves to become used as when we pray, when we use prayer, and it becomes like white magic, miracle healings and so forth. But you have to see it culminates here. At this evolutionary stage is where the psychic thought climate culminates. And then it wears off eventually. But this is kind of like the thought climate we use when we listen to what the response to our prayers. It's kind of like our spiritual ears to some extent. We see here again the star symbolizing the great birth, where we have the intuition body going out of its latency. And this is where Martinez was at in the evolutionary period or level of consciousness. So remote viewing, what can we say about it? We can see that it depends on the evolutionary level of the being using remote viewing. If the being is here, there's going to be some orange stuff which is killing principle. It's going to kind of be like not morally developed enough to use remote viewing in an all-loving way. So it's probably not going to be that effective. It's going to have some ability, but not really be given that much power. If we are a little more evolved in evolution, we can see that there's more yellow and blue in this psychic thought climate, which signifies that there are feeling, there's love, and there's intuition. And there's a green too, and there's intelligence. So it's all up to the level of evolution of the beings practicing remote viewing. Because governments can use remote viewing, and beings who want to create peace on the planet can use remote viewing, right? So it's all depends on the beings using the tool, the evolutionary level of the beings using the tools. Because it's a great tool, yeah, it is. Martinez had a lot of abilities to be able to basically, what you're doing is you're separating a spiritual body from your physical body and experiencing with that spiritual body on different dimensions, including the physical. You see templates of the physical with that body, being able to go back and remember that experience detailed in the day conscious awareness. So that's a talent you can train. Just like any other talent, it's a talent you can train up. Anybody can train this talent, right? It's just a matter of meeting the right teacher that teaches you to do it, right? So, what's interesting to this combination is that this thought climate of the cosmic birth doesn't start until this thought climate dies out. This is a thought climate of selfishness, of egotism, and so forth. So unless you're unselfish, you're not really interested in natural science, which becomes spiritual science, according to Martinus. Spiritual science in the beginning, right here in the the incipient stages, is natural science, all the natural sciences. And it evolves to become a spiritual science, basically because all the hypotheses that we're having now in the natural sciences evolve to include the area of spiritual realities, right? We're starting to see that there's a field behind everything. The scientists are talking about it already, right? There's this field, there's this unified field. What is it? So now they have to incorporate that immaterial aspect of matter into their hypotheses, and eventually that'll become a spiritual science. So, and that is this one here that's growing, and eventually it will culminate in the Great Birth, which is the ability of the intuition body to see for itself the spiritual worlds and having self-experience of these worlds, these realities that are immaterial, not physical. But I can say for sure that they're not using their intuition body to do remote viewing, right?
No.
Because it's latent. So it doesn't become born until here. So they must use either the intelligence body or the feeling body, according to Martinez, to use his terminology. They probably use what they call it, the etheric body or the astral body.
According to remote viewers, they access what they call the universal matrix of knowledge, and that is that everything that exists and everything that has been and everything that is going to be is within that matrix of knowledge, and they access that matrix to be able to identify what they identify through it.
Oh, okay.
What body they do to use that, to do that, I have no idea.
Yeah.
In Martinez's terms.
Yeah. Well, Martinez says the same thing. All the experiences of all beings are stored in what he calls the gold copies in the divine world, which is where the intuition energy culminates, the blue energy, the blue color. So you need the intuition body to see that in the gold copies. Of course, maybe there are derivations of the gold copies that you can see with down-stepped bodies such as astral body and whatever other bodies they use, but they can be distorted. What you're seeing need not to be exactly what these beings have experienced, stored as golden copies, but it's like a diluted version and could be reversed. Actually, what they think they experienced was the opposite. You know, so you can distort those golden copies on lower dimensional scales. So I would say use the intuition body because it'll see the golden copies directly and experience that. It actually says that the intuition body sees It's a sensory perception of vision. The intuition body sees it. The memory body, the indigo, feels it. But you can only feel your own golden copies. You cannot feel the golden copies of all living beings with your memory body. Only your own, because the internal state where you only feel your own memories. So it has to be the intuition body to see that those golden copies of all living beings everywhere, right? And that is not born yet. So they must, that's where it could be tricky if you're using a different body than the intuition body. Yeah, because basically, that's kind of the security, like a fail-safe. If you have cosmic consciousness, you have access to all knowledge that all living beings have ever done and will ever do, right? If you don't, access denied. But then there are derivatives of that, Yeah. So I think that's all for now, right? There's no more further questions, or? Yeah.
Thank you.
And just here on the conclusion, Jan Langekær is coming to London on the June 18th at the Poetry Cafe at 11:30. And
Have 3 lectures.
Yeah, 3 talks and dialogues.
Intuition.
Intuition is the first one called.
Yes. And
Yeah.
The world situation.
The world.
Second one.
Okay, second one's called World
And the third
Situation.
one is the sexual pole system.
And the third talk and dialogue is the sexual pole transformation. Okay, and again, that's Saturday, June 18th, starting at 11:30. And you can come to either one, 2, or all 3, you decide.
And free admission.
Yeah, it starts, the first one is 11:30, and then there's like 2-hour intervals, right?
Yes.
11:30, 1:30, and 3:30. Those are starting times.
And free admission.
Free admission, yeah. Okay, so that's all, folks, and hope to see you next Sunday for the Third Testament live stream broadcast here from Copenhagen. And again, our website is www.thethirdtestament.info. Thank you for watching. See you soon.
This interaction between you, Reagan, and Bob.
Yeah, excuse my ignorance, because I don't know.